Good morning, everybody. Forgot to make a video yesterday, so I'm making one real quick. What about? I'm not sure. Last day of running. Felt good to go do it and just be done. And I am done. I got up early. So it's kind of like, it's not the opposite, but I've been lifting kind of hard. But it's not really just because I'm lifting. It's because I'm running and lifting. And the combination is just making me super sore. It's like kind of like putting me back into like a pain threshold. And so I get kind of just hurt a little bit, and sleeping's a little bit more difficult again. And really most of the time that kind of subsides when you're lifting. Like you start lifting and you get real sore, and then it kind of like it gets better. It's a little bit more tricky when you are doing hours of running and lifting at the same time. I think it has to do with blood flow, because it's just I don't really have any idea. I just know that it causes a lot of pain. So I get to take a little bit of time off from running, and that's good for me. Just to heal up proper and make sure all like the little joints stop swelling and all that stuff. It's good for you. Good for me. Yeah. So today was all right. It was kind of nice not having anybody out there and no one really bothering me. No neighbors, no people, no one saying hi to me or anything. I mean, I know all these people so well, and we just like seem to like talk forever, and they're just so nice and helpful. And so I just like kind of nice just beat them, get out there before they come and make the run like long and hard. Really, there just is not much to say. It's like such a downtime, and I can't really think of anything. I mean, I went harder today than I normally do, but not. I still could. Like I say that I could push harder, but I kind of don't know that till the end. So, like with the pacing that I'm doing now, it's like, I'm starting off running faster, and I actually, as I warm up, I feel better. So like when I first start running, I feel horrible. I mean, I really don't feel good. I always like, sometimes, usually when you start off, it's like, oh man, is it going to get better or worse? And usually it gets better. And today it got better. And I was surprised because I was pushing a little harder, or I was running a little faster. And I really, it got to a point where I knew I could run faster, but I didn't run any. I kind of just I started to pace myself out of the gate, or from that point forward, because I didn't want to I wanted to be able to finish strong. I didn't want to get tired before I got done. And that's why sometimes with the pacing is that you won't know until the end of your run that you can't make it back. You're that you could have gone faster or not faster, and then you kind of have to plan for the next time. And where I am is that I definitely could have run faster, which is one of those mental building blocks that I feel better, that I know next time that if I go run, I can, I don't have to. It's not that I even have to push harder. It's just that I know now that I can comfortably run at that pace, which is more for the type of running I'm doing right now and the type of training that I just went through, or, that's what I'm looking for. So it's really not that I'm trying to break world records. It's just that it's just, you want to like, when you're running for that long, you want to like feel good through the whole thing. I mean, you don't want to be like in that zone where you're just uncomfortable, or running isn't as fun or enjoyable. And that's like actually a good point. And I'll take an extra minute because the little chemicals in my brain started making this sound better, because this is like sort of like the end result of pacing. Is that like everybody goes out there and they go for 1 mile, and the first day they feel great. Second day they can't even run because their legs hurt so bad, if they even ran. Third day they can't really run. Fourth day, like, they might get back out there, but they can only get like so far, and they expect that like I was actually pretty reasonable. I hate running, so I didn't expect to like be wonderful at it right out the gate. So, and I thought it was going to take me a long time. Like, I prepped for a long time. I figured that I would get okay at biking, but I knew that running was going to be a hurdle. I didn't even know if I wanted to do it. But, by the way, I started out biking, not running. So, running became like a thing when I saw this one dude. He was like, "Oh, well, you should go for a try." And I was like, "Oh, that seems like a healthy thing." That was stupid. I should have just kept biking. And I know that also sounds kind of funny that like, oh, well, biking is an expensive sport. Well, I found out running is expensive if you really like buy shoes and socks and stuff, because you will go through some shoes quick. I mean, I go through on average a shoe every month. And if you get real expensive shoes, I mean, like the most expensive shoes are like $400. I never buy those, but like, you're talking. I'm just saying, like, in comparison to biking, it's like, I mean, once a year maybe I change the tires. Tires can be like as much as like a pair of shoes. So anyway, I now I just got off on a tangent and I'm rambling. So I'm gonna get back to the point. Is that like the whole thing is that like it really can take you, if you're like starting from like absolutely zero background in this, and depending on, I guess, your age, but I hate saying age because people are varying types. They feel good. They are different types of I always say athleticism, but I guess it's being in shape. So if you're like a bodybuilder or IFBB pro or whatever, like you're probably you have probably never thought like not like even the average person. Like, I would say that you've never even thought like the above average person. So like the way that you would think about how like everything goes is just like you're giving bad advice because you just don't have a clue. but like if you're like some like fat fuck, damn, I just cussed. If you're like, even if you're not even fat, but if you're just like you're just not used to running. Obviously, if you have weight on you, it's even way harder. I mean, it's harder on your heart and harder on all your organs. But the thing about it is that I could say keep consistent, but like that's why all these terminologies are sort of weird. Is that like you kind of have to explain it? Is that like being consistent is like running a mile every day? Well, you may not be capable of running a mile every day for a month. So, and people don't think that if they're not athletic, they're not thinking down the road. They're thinking like, oh, well, I'll be consistent for this, like, day and tomorrow. Then when they can't go out running tomorrow, they're like, oh, well, I'm just too old or some sort of excuse. So what I'm getting to is that being enjoyable isn't like running faster than the guy next to you. It's about like it being comfortable at your pace, and you can get to that level fairly reasonably quickly, but just how far you go, it depends on how hard you want to push. Like if you have like a set, like say you just feel comfortable running around your neighborhood, your neighborhood's like 2.5 miles, you can get there pretty quick and stay there for a pretty long time. But if you're like trying to like progress and like eventually do like, you want to do like your city, and then you want to do your, your county, and then maybe your state, then the whole country. You got to build up to that type of effort. So everything that you do is like kind of like stepping stones. And I guess why I'm taking a little bit extra time, even more so than I thought, is because there really is like the conclusion of like pacing yourself out. Is that like, in the end, you kind of want to be able to do it and feel good afterwards, and not feel like you're, just dying and that you don't want to do it again. Like the whole point is like to enjoy it. And people don't get that. And what I sort of didn't understand about running is, because I came from an athletic background, is that legitimately the only reason we would run just to run was because we were being punished. And running on a track at your high school where you don't want to be, or like, at your college even, where you don't really want to be. I mean, at most you're showing off for the girls, or the girls are showing off for the other girls. Like, it's just a different type of mentality when you start exploring, and like your motivation is like kind of that you can go see stuff and see it better. Like you can drive, but like driving has its disadvantages. I mean, a ton of them. And so really when you get down to like getting to your pace, is that like, you could say that it's like the old hunt, where like, okay, well, we get up early to go fish because we have to like survive. And I'm talking like, way back when, and like kind of our natural instincts. But like anymore, since it's all sort of done for us, I mean, the majority is that we, even, I guess with all the machines, it could be everybody, but like that it becomes like part of just it being interesting again, is that like you can explore things that you couldn't explore any other way. You can go places you can't go on foot, you can go places on foot that you can't go on a car or a motorcycle or a motorized vehicle. And even like a bike, being on a bike is just different, and there's pros and cons to both of that too. So like it just is like another avenue to where you really get to like it enhances your life, because if you like to do adventures, you can make just going outside an adventure. You can make going to the park an adventure. You can make you don't have to like have someone like, get in this car, drive to this place, do these activities, do this. Like you can just like walk outside and be of a fit level that you can, that like just where you are becomes accessible, and you see things that you wouldn't see, and you experience the weather, and you experience like the people in the community, whether that's good or bad. But like you see little changes, and you notice how much the world changes around you, much more. And I know that I'm going on sort of a rant, but I'm trying to pull it back in to like, when you go and you start running and you start doing this, is that you don't notice all that stuff. You're blocking everything out because you are trying to make it. And then once you get to a certain point, you're able to like enjoy it and look around, and it becomes like an experience. And so the whole point of like being able to pace yourself isn't looking at the time. It's not about all that. I mean, those are good indicators. I mean, like you can look at the sun and, almost, we've been keeping track of time before there's been digital watches. So, I mean, like, who cares about that? I'm just saying is that like on the pacing side of it, is that you don't have to look at time to be pushing yourself. You don't need any sort of measurement for it to be a big deal. You just can feel it. I mean, you can, and the part of pushing sometimes, and why would you get out of your comfort zone? Like, why would you push into like, a higher cardio zone? Like, you might have a heart attack, you might all this. Well, I might get hit by a friggin' bolt of lightning, or a meteor or something like that too. I mean, like, I could that those types of excuses never worked for me because you just sort of are like, there's so much going on that like, yeah, like if your heart starts pounding and it doesn't feel right, you just slow back down. But that doesn't mean that you can't ever like build back up, and that also doesn't mean that you can't ever get to that heart rate again or go as fast as you were trying to go. That just means that you're just not in that zone yet. And the thing that I find is that like you can train to go fast or you can train to go far or you can train like sort of like back and forth. And really the whole point becomes is that I mean, if you're winning a medal, it's just a different mindset. But like if you're past that, then it becomes its own its own thing. It's not about training for a high school run where all the girls are on the sideline and the girls are on the sideline of the girls all clapping and like the the testosterone and the I don't want to make fun of it because it is a good experience, but like where everybody is like kind of standing around like you just if you're only doing it because of the attention of people giving you attention, it's never going to really pan out because like it tastes like today the people that would normally give you too much attention aren't even around. But so all I'm gonna say is that like pacing for me this time has been such a big deal because I'm trying to enjoy it. And for me now, being able to go, 10 miles relatively easy. I mean, think about what you can see and what you can do in that 10 miles. And I am going to put this in, and I'm going to just add this in, is that like I don't really drive a car, and I ride a bike, and I walk everywhere, and I take a bus. I don't know, pathetic, right? But is it like, people that I know, or people that I've heard, people that have told me, have said like they're so proud that they walk like 2-3 miles a day, and I walk 2 or 3 miles a day just going where I need to go and doing what I need to do, like on top of me doing all my training. And if I was to do just training and I didn't do all that, it would be a different ball game because it's a mentality and it is very hard to just balance that type of cardiovascular activity. If you're trying to walk everywhere and carry stuff like groceries and you're trying to like get to places that are sometimes 10 miles away, it takes you half a day because half a day because you're riding and you get there and you come back, it really can take a lot out of you, and what you're trying to put into your training becomes limited. So you really become better at even pacing that because you get to the point where you're like you're paying attention to how much you're doing just with what you have to do and with what you are pushing yourself to do. And then you get to a certain point where you're pushing so hard that it becomes so easy that now, what you could do in a every day was simple. I mean, it wasn't just simple, it was enjoyable. Like going to get the groceries becomes like well, I talk bad about my neighbors, but I did talk to my one cute little neighbor. She rides her bike and she likes to say hi to me every once in a while. And she's always out trying to make the community better. And she's just this little girl, and she was nice and she's always been nice. So, but she does the same things that I do. She walks, instead of driving I think for her, it's probably not even a half a mile. so, her neighbors probably, all of her neighbors probably drive that little half mile where she just walks. And I don't know, when I come down to what seems like good behavior and what seems like bad behavior, or seems what's normal and what's not normal, is kind of skewed. So I'm going to actually like make sure that now that I was going to go just a couple minutes over, I'm going to make sure in the next 30 seconds that I wrap this up. Is that once you get to a certain point where you realize that pacing is just about like how you're feeling and about enjoying things and about knowing the different levels and your awareness and your alertness, is that it becomes more than just like time and measurements and like a grind. It becomes like it becomes like a beneficial, see, like it's abstract, so it becomes like an abstract feeling and emotion, and it's hard to describe, because how do you describe something as, you know, like if you ask somebody, did you pace yourself today? They're like, no, I didn't have my watch. so I mean, like, I guess like where it really comes down to is that like is that in the short and long term, is that you just have to it just, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe you could tell me in the comment section. I think that's why people say that stuff on this platform, because it's just an easier way of not having to think for a second. So anyway, I'm definitely going to end the video there, and I'm not going to remake this one, because, you know, this one is like one of those like dog videos or cat videos where you just think it's all cute and fuzzy and it just makes you feel good, because that's seriously why you would do this stuff, not because of, for me, I wouldn't promote like because you're trying to get some medal and you're trying to do all this stuff, because that's just too, that is for one person who gets the medal and not for the rest of the people who didn't. So like I can't say that this is the type of motivational talk for that type of person that is going for that type of thing. I mean, I'd just much rather see everybody finish than one person, but you know, this is civilian and not military. And anyway, I'll leave you right about there. And I really hope that you get out and start understanding why you're doing it and the joy of it, and start like realizing just how much you have in your life that you never even knew you could have. And then stop worrying about what you've been told and start worrying about what you can find out.